Operation Sea Lion, the code name for Nazi Germany's planned invasion of the United Kingdom. But what if the Germans had gone ahead with the invasion, despite losing the Battle of Britain? Could they have succeeded? Join us as we explore the fascinating what-if scenario. And so, in the summer of 1940, Britain stood alone against the seemingly unstoppable advance of Nazi Germany. The fall of France in June left Britain isolated, facing the full might of the Axis powers. The situation was dire.
That left the desperate French and British defenders with their backs to the sea at the small channel port of Dunkirk.
The British Expeditionary Force had only just been evacuated from Dunkirk, leaving behind vast amounts of equipment and vehicles. The threat of invasions loomed large, as Hitler's forces amassed across the Channel, preparing for the Operation Sea Lion.
Phase 1. Knock out the Royal Air Force and its bases. Get control of the air and the sea lanes across the Channel. Follow the Blitz plan that had wiped out Poland, the Low Countries, and France. Destroy communication and transport lines.
British people were living under constant threat of air raids. The Luftwaffe began its campaign to destroy the Royal Air Force and gain air superiority in preparation for the invasion. Now, the skies above southern England were filled with the drone of aircraft engines and a crackle of anti-aircraft fire. Sirens wailed through towns and cities, sending civilians scrambling for the nearest air raid shelter. London, in particular, endured relentless bombing, later known as the Blitz. Our daily life was marked by a mix of anxiety and resilience. Blackout curtains were mandatory, obscuring any light that might guide enemy bombers in the night. Food and resources were rationed, with long lines forming outside shops for just basic necessities. Yet, amid the hardship, the British spirit remained unbroken. Propaganda efforts led by figures like Prime Minister Winston Churchill emphasised stoicism and determination. Churchill's speeches galvanised the public, instilling a belief that despite the odds, Britain would endure.
We shall defend our island, whatever the cost may be. We shall fight on beaches, landing grounds, in fields, in streets, and on the hills. We shall never surrender.
Now, the Battle of Britain was fought predominantly in the air, a fierce contest between the RAF and the Luftwaffe. British pilots, often outnumbered and outgunned, displayed extraordinary bravery. The RAF's fighter command, under the leadership of Air Chief Marshal Hugh Dowding, utilised radar technology and an efficient system of communication and command to maximise their defence capabilities. Now, the iconic submarine Spitfires and Hawker Hurricanes became symbols of hope and defiance for the nation. And on the ground, civilians supported the war effort in many ways.
Ferry the planes. Carry the dispatches. Drive the ambulances and run the buses. And we'll see that our men are fed and don't go hungry.
Women joined the workforce in unprecedented numbers, taking on roles of factories, agriculture and civil defence. The Home Guard, a volunteer militia, prepared to defend the country against invasion. The community efforts saw the collection of scrap metal for munitions and the cultivation of victory gardens to supplement food supplies. Now, despite the relentless pressure, the tide began to turn by late summer. The RAF's resilience, coupled with strategic errors by the Luftwaffe, such as shifting the focus from bombing cities instead of airfields, allowed Britain to hold its ground. The Luftwaffe failed to achieve air superiority and Operation Sea Lion was indefinitely postponed. Now, the plan hinged on achieving air superiority over the Royal Air Force, which the Luftwaffe failed to accomplish during the Battle of Britain. But what if Hitler decided to press on with the invasion anyway? Let's break down the challenges and potential outcomes of that. Now, the Battle of Britain was a crucial turning point. The Royal Air Force's successful defence of British skies prevented the Luftwaffe from gaining the air superiority needed to support a seaborne invasion. Because without the control of the skies, any invasion fleet would be highly vulnerable to British air attacks. Now, the English Channel, while being narrow, presented significant logistical challenges. The German Navy at the time, the Kriegsmarine, was not equipped to transport and protect the large number of troops needed for an invasion. The Royal Navy, with its superior naval forces, would have posed a formidable obstacle to this fleet. Just in general, the German Navy simply didn't have necessary landing craft and ships to safely transport the invasion force across that channel. Even if they had somehow managed to land troops on British soil, maintaining supply lines across this contested water would have been nearly impossible, as well as the fact that the British Army had been preparing a potential invasion for months.
Only one tank for every 1,000 square miles of territory. Only one machine gun for every 1,500 yards of beach. Britain had a navy too.
Coastal defences were fortified and plans for a robust defence-in-depth strategy were in place. British troops supported by local Home Guard units were ready to defend their homeland. And for German soldiers, the prospect of invading Britain without air and naval superiority would have been daunting. The morale would have plummeted. The risk of being cut off from reinforcements and supplies would have been very high, leading to potential catastrophic losses in the army. Now let's say the Germans did manage to land a significant force on the southern coast of England. They would have faced fierce resistance. Urban warfare in cities like London and the rugged countryside would have favoured the defenders drastically. Additionally, the British could have mobilised reserves and received aid from the Commonwealth and the United States. The British resistance would not have been limited to regular forces. The spirit of the British people combined with well-organised resistance plans would have made any occupation exceedingly difficult for the Germans. Now it's important to remember the broader strategic picture. The failure of Operation Sea Lion would have had far-reaching consequences for the German war effort. Resources and manpower diverted to a failed invasion would have weakened Germany's positions on other fronts, particularly on the Eastern Front against the Soviet Union. Because on the Eastern Front was where the bulk of the German military effort was concentrated. Any significant diversion of resources to an invasion of Britain would have compromised Germany's ability to fight the Soviets, potentially hastening their defeat in the East. So, in conclusion, while Operation Sea Lion remains one of history's great what-if scenarios, the reality is that the invasion would have faced insurmountable obstacles. The loss of the Battle of Britain combined with logistical challenges and determined British resistance meant that any attempt to invade would likely have ended in disaster for the Germans. And that should about do it for today, folks. So don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe, and any ideas you have for future videos, stick them down in the comment section below and it might be yours in the next video. And I'll see you next time.
We shall fight on the beaches, we shall fight on the landing grounds.
On the road to Berlin, to Tokyo, to a final victory. I have a dream. This nation will rise up.
Go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.